Hello guys and gals, welcome to another episode of Squad Morale Restored. My name is Daniel and today we are going to be looking at your friend and mine, Citadel Finecast. Primarily to see whether or not its reputation of the alternative moniker of Failcast is well deserved or not. Now, back in the day when Finecast came out, I did pick up a few models, and this one in particular was a favourite of mine in metal, but I wanted to see what it would look like in resin. Now, this was a bright, clean blue surface, and then I took this model out and had a look at it, and it sort of shedded itself all over the place. So here is the original version of this model. Well, the original Finecast version of this model that I received. And as you can probably tell, it's pretty ghastly. The edges, even if you just consider... Oh, I'll try and get focused. Even if you just consider the frame around it, it gives you some idea of how generally horrible it is. Or how horrible it's going to look. It's still shedding. Right. One of the problems of it shedding, of course, is that this resin dust is quite dangerous to be breathing in, so I will make this quick. We have the vampire lady herself. If you look at the edge of her cowl between my thumb and finger, I mean, how bad is that? It's grooved, it's got gashes in it, gouges. It's not smooth at all. If we continue that to the front, the top rather of a cowl, you've got an horrendous mold line. Well, horrendous, it's cleanable, but it's not great. The main thing I noticed when I looked at this was the actual finish of the resin is not smooth. It's really rough, coarse, like gritty almost. The detail, if we look at her face, the face isn't too bad. The mouth has kind of disappeared somewhat. Go to this side. Now, at first I thought the underside of the cowl was supposed to be like bat wing or dragon wing, but I'm not convinced. I think the fingers, like the bones leading up to the edges, are supposed to be there, but I'm not too sure about the rest of it. It's a bit like hit and miss. Okay, and then if we have a look down towards the bottom of a dress. Hold on, let's turn this up the right way. The folds there down the side, they look pretty good. Although there's quite a lot of bits to trim off. Hang on, let's see. I'm going to point in here. Along there, all these little vertical bits need trimming, which is fair enough. It's resin, so it's the sort of thing that you expect. The cloak itself, down towards the bottom, some of the edges are quite sharp, but because the overall surface texture is gritty, the whole thing looks like a little bit on the fuzzy side. If we look at the sword arm, it appears that we've got air bubbles popping up here and also on the other side. Or is that supposed to be there for damage to the... That's hard to tell. To me, it looks like air bubbles. Okay, and if we look at the pommel of the sword, if we look at the hand guard, we've got all these bits inside that need cleaning out. The hand guard itself, what on earth is going on here? That is just like a big chunk of resin sticking out the side. And so that will need a good trimming. The sword blade actually feels rough, so that's not nice and smooth. So you could sandpaper, file that maybe, sandpaper, file that a bit, perhaps. If we have a look between our legs, are these supposed to be skulls? It looks like skulls, but very lacking in detail. This knee pad, again, is, I think, judging by the photograph of the cover of the photograph of the front, it looks like they're supposed to be like dragon wings or bat wings, but you can sort of make out lines, but you can't really tell exactly what it's supposed to be. And again, all the way down the front, all this dress down here, it's just scratchy and gritty looking. The hair isn't too bad, but all in all, it's a bit of a cluster shambles. So we'll put the moulding vampire there and introduce you to the Finecast model I picked up a couple of months ago. Now, this one, straight away, judging by the outside, you've got a nice rounded frame. So the production has basically changed the whole outer part of this frame and also increased the size of the gates. So if you look at the gates, which are these sort of squared blocks reaching to the outside of the frame, the newer one has much wider looking gates. Hang on, there we go. Much wider gates. You can obviously tell there compared to that. And in doing so, they've allowed for the resin to flow out in and out of the mould much more easily. So if we look at those problem areas, like the edge of a cowl, again, nice and smooth. He says again, I mean, having a look at it again, it's now nice and smooth, whereas before it was really just rough and bits falling off it and unfinished looking. Turning it over, you can tell that these are clearly supposed to be like bone ridges, although the bit in between is now totally smooth. So comparing that to that, I'm wondering if that was originally ribbed inside. I don't know. Couldn't tell, to be sure. But then if you just look at the sword, it's such a difference. It's like night and day. The handguard has a little bit like you need to scrape off around it, but it's sharp, generally sharp and pointy, and you can tell what it is. The sort of tassely bits there are well defined, again for the ruffles on the sleeves. What I thought was an air bubble on the other one, I suspect is actually just like deliberate holes. I think deliberate holes in the cloak to show, in the sleeve to show damage. Those three, those three definitely look like they're intentional. Not sure about that one on the elbow. The one at the end of the sleeve looks intentional. And then we've got this skull thing she's holding. Holes in the sleeve, I think they're intentional. Yeah, we've got a couple on this side, I've got a few on this side. And judging by the fact they're not showing up anywhere else, I suspect that's supposed to be damage to the sleeve. Although I'm not sure. But if you're not keen on them, a bit of super glue would be enough, I think, to fill them in. Whereas if you compare them to this, you could probably still get away with maybe a bit of super glue would fill those, not sure. So if we have a look at the skulls between the legs, on these, oh dear, it could be pretty much anything. But on this one, look at the difference. The one on the ground, you can sort of see it's the upper orbits where the eyes would be. On this, it's a rock. Looks just like a rock. And the skulls inside, really obvious what they are. The knee pad, that is obviously now some wings. You can see them quite clearly on both sides of a knee. Yep. Whereas on here, much grottier. Let's have a look at the face. So facially, the eyes have it, and the mouth is clear to see. Right. Now this folded part of the side of a dress, these look like little jewels dangling down. But on this one, they're not even really obvious that they're there. You can't make them out particularly well at all, and I thought these would actually just some excess resin to scratch out. Okay, so comparing both is it the other thing. Let's have a look at the pendant on the neck. Hold on, so we can get a closer look. It's just some shape dangling down there. Whereas on this one, it's much more like elegant and attractive looking. Definitely around the heads is really obvious what the failings of this one is compared to this one. And God, this one's still molting. Right. So, what do we say about this? Yep, Citadel Finecast probably deserved the original moniker of Failcast based on this early representation. But models I've had since then, like in the last couple of years, when deciding, give it another go, the quality is much better. Say 6-7 years ago, I would not have recommended Finecast to anybody, as it feels horrible. It's very brittle, and its ability to pick up on detail was diabolical. Even if you look at this edge here, that bony structure isn't even parallel or coming out at a friendly angle towards this bit. Whereas on the more up-to-date one, it is sharp and obvious. And the other one's just like some kind of lumpen monstrosity. So, my conclusion, based on my own sort of limited experience, this is not the only Failcast type model I've got, is that if you were to pick up some modern sculpts, you should be perfectly fine, and the only things would be like little fiddly bits you'd need to change, as in maybe heat warping some of the play bits back into shape, and that's about it really. The detail is now picked up really well. Of course, you do have the general caveats that if you're trying to clean the bits up, you're going to get the dust in the atmosphere, so you have to be wearing a mask or doing it outside or something. You do have lots more of these gates compared to, say, Fort World models. This is not too bad, actually. I have seen some with not millions, but loads and loads of gates that need cleaning up and repair work. So what do you guys think? Have you bitten? Have you been bitten by Failcast in the past and have refused to ever get it again, or are you more of a recent convert and accept some of these older models, older sculpts generally, in Finecast? Ideally, of course, the best medium would be to get plastic, but not always practical with some of these older ones. All right, so bit of a short video today, guys. Let me know in the comments below what your opinions are of Finecast. Keep it clean, please. And if you agree with me that Finecast used to be an absolute abomination on the face of the earth, and now it's a lot more acceptable. Until next time, happy hobbying, and you guys take care of yourselves. Bye for now.